This shirt was ice dyed over a rack. And I'm curious what would happen if we were to dye this in the muck. Now, you might not have heard that word before. The muck is where all that ice water pools and combines, and it's really dark and mucky. So if we were to leave this in that muck water, what would happen? Would that black completely overpower the yellow? I think we should run an experiment and find out, which is what we're going to do here. So stick around. My name's Nate. As always, I'm going to do my best to keep track of all of the details. I'll probably forget something important along the way, but that's okay. Let's jump into it. I have fallen in love with the glitch pattern. Its highly structured design with sharp angles and straight lines lend the shirt a different feel. It's more structural and architectural, digital even. As the colors can seem to be pulled apart with gradients of splits, it can have a corrupted or distorted appearance, or just mimic water ripples. The uses here are really neat. Spirals and tie-dye, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. And that glitch, man, it needs to be up there at the same level. All right, enough, let's get into the experiment. All right, let's talk tools real quick, as there are some additional ones needed. In addition to the shirt and dye, you're gonna need some sinew and a yardstick. Now, two, in my opinion, would be better, but that's another video coming up. Let's start with the yardstick, or something like one. As usual, my shirt is damp from its soda ash spa soak and inside out to help avoid stray dye spotting. For my yardstick, I'm going to be using a carpenter square that I had because, well, that's what I had lying around. And I think it's important to use what you already have before you go buy something new. Now, the key thing with your yardstick, it's important that it's longer than your shirt is wide, which sounds like there's an insult there somewhere. Not sure about that one. Now, the goal here is to create pleated alternating folds, which you can think a bit about it like a squished S-shaped. Now, smooth that shirt out as best you can, slide that yardstick under the bottom of the shirt, then pull back while you tuck the shirt underneath and put it back down. I like to pull up on that handle while pulling that shirt closer to me because it just makes it a little bit easier, and I like that carpenter square. Then you take that yardstick out carefully, then slide it back underneath and repeat the process. Now, if you fold your sleeve into the shirt to make your kind of canvas a square rectangle, I won't hold that against you because that's what I do moving forward. It makes life a whole lot easier. Now, after repeating this process, going up the shirt, it should look like a Roman shade. Now, at this point, it would be the smart person who walks to the other side of the table to repeat this fold, or you could be like me and kind of risk it and just try to rotate the shirt without messing it up, which is what I did here. Now, quick tip, when you're sliding that yardstick under the shirt, make sure you go with the fold and not against it. You don't want it to catch on something underneath. It'll happen to you once and you'll understand what I mean. Now, you're going to repeat this process from what we did before all the way up the other side at a 90-degree angle. So now once it's done, it should look like a weird checkerboard that's made from a t-shirt. And now it's time to rotate that shirt 45 degrees and to start fan folding. Now, do this very carefully and go slow. You're probably only going to get a couple folds. It's not critical that it's like really accurate. You just want to make them even here. And now once that shirt has been fan folded, it's time to start the sinew. Now, fun fact, real sinew was used as thread for sewing and other purposes back in the day, as it was very strong and it came from like caribou and other animals. Today, we'll stick with the artificial stuff, thank you very much. Now, why do we use sinew here instead of, say, kite string, thread, rubber bands? And that's a great question. When wrapped around a part of a shirt and pulled tight, it creates a resist, which in tie-dye jargon is just a method of stopping the dye. Now, there are other resist methods, but we're not going to get to that in this video. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to be wrapping my shirt, which now looks like a loaf of bread, 2 to 3 times around the spot. And then I'm going to tighten it gently to secure that spot, then wrap 1 or more 2 times, and then really pull that sinew while pushing the shirt away.
And when you do that, you're gonna feel it lock into place. And that's when you know you've created that resist. And in this situation, I'm gonna suggest that you definitely also need to get a sinew puller, which today, as you see here, is my olive wood kitchen spoon, which I stole from the kitchen. I like it because I can wrap it a couple times around to the end of the handle and pull it really tight. And then that sinew, when I pull it tight, it doesn't dig into the rest of the wound sinew on the other rest of the kitchen spoon. Now, once you're done, there's no need to tie it, because when you pull hard and lock it in, the sinew itself creates that seal and you're good to go. Now, as a quick PSA, here, this is really important here, artificial sinew will have a 75-pound breaking strength, which is pretty strong. And to get to those crisp lines that you see, your goal when you're trying to pull is to get to that breaking point. If you're not sweating while you're doing this, you're not pulling hard enough. So now, some tips. Protect your back, embrace your core, bend the knees, pull and push at the same time. It is a small workout, especially if you're in your 40s and your back gets angry at you at times. All right, let's talk about the dye. We're gonna be using Dharma Raven Black, bright yellow, and for a touch of fun, some lemon yellow. Now, to encourage the fragmented and sharp angles, this is a key thing about the glitch here, is you want to place the dye at a diagonal, alternating. So imagine that baguette that we were kind of talking about earlier that you wrapped around, and you're slicing little breads to get as much surface. It's like that. For these shirts, I alternated the black and yellow, and as always, both shirts will have the dye weighed out beforehand, ensuring I use the exact same amount. I'm going to put the math on the screen for those who are curious. The tip to help the dye stick on the shirts here is to spray the shirt with soda ash water before applying it. We're going to be doing one shirt dyed in the muck and one shirt dyed on a rack. Let's get into this. What is muck dyeing? And why is that name so awful? In short, as the ice melts, that shirt, it's going to sit in that melted dye water for the duration, including batching. So as the ice melts into the shirt, it's going to melt into the dye and just go everywhere, and then it's not going to be able to go anywhere. Wait, this means all the colors are going to mix, right? Won't that cause issues? Well, that's why we're doing this. I can't think of two better colors to do this with other than black and yellow, super dark and super bright. Yeah, we're gonna see how this turns out. Now, the opposite of muck dyeing is what most people are going to do, and that is rack dyeing. And that's where the excess water runs down to the catch basin, and the shirt, it's on that rack above. Before we get into the reveal, I wanna say thank you for watching. I have more glitch videos on the way with some new tips and advice to share with you. And as always, if you found this video helpful and enjoyable, please like and subscribe. Sip of coffee. In the trash. Let's look at this one first. Ooh. Interesting. This is going to be not as many of the white lines as I would have liked, but it's very interesting. This is the non-muck dyed one. Let's put it right side out. That's pretty cool. That is very neat. Very neat. Let's look at the one that was muck dyed. Then we'll wash them, dry them, and we'll come back. That's neat. All right, this is the one that was muck dyed. Initial glance, maybe this one was tied a little bit better. Let's put it inside out, or right side in. And I am curious to see what this black, after it's washed, how intense it'll stay. It recommended to use 4 times as much, and I used just double. But then again, that 4 times as much depends on how much coverage of surface area. So this one I think came out better so far from a standpoint of the glitch pattern here. This is pretty neat. A little black dot there, some yellows. So this will lighten up. I'm very curious to see. So let's come back and see how it turned out.
All right, I have washed the shirts and dried them. I have my process on the screen if you want to pause to take a quick look. I really like how they both turned out, and they're both, in a way, my favorites. The black and the yellow on the Muck dye, I like it because it seems more intense. There's some interesting gradients, and I really like the dark black. And I think that is something I'm gonna do again with other colors just to see how they interact. My first instinct is to try a dark shade of red because, you know, sometimes when you're wearing tie-dye, you don't want a super bright shirt when generally you usually do, but sometimes you want a dark shirt and that's fine. I'm also interested in doing this again with the exact same colors, black and yellow, but maybe doing more stripes of them so there's more interaction between the two. I don't know, there's so many options here. What do you all think? I'm not so sure why I was so scared of the Muck. I don't know. Thank you all for watching.